Hello, everyone, and welcome to another Sailor Moment. Thank you so much for being here again this week. Thank you for being with me on Monday mornings again. I truly appreciate you staying with me through all of the changes. I know it can be crazy sometimes, but it is what it is. Life happens, and I don't expect everyone to tune in every single time I go live. We all have lives, and I totally understand it. But for those of you who have been here, thank you so much for being here. I truly appreciate you more than you know. Today, I wanted to discuss first, before we begin our teachings today, I want to discuss some things that have been going on in the news as of recent. Um, I don't know why I'm not streaming on Facebook, so hopefully, I'm not sure what's going on with Facebook, but um, hopefully, I can get it running sooner or later. I don't know what's going on with it. I'm sorry. Um, there are several things that are happening in the news today, in recent days. So we can start off with the earthquakes that we heard happen. I'll turn up the volume. Hopefully that's better. Um, I know most of you have heard of the earthquakes that have happened on the East Coast, which is very, very abnormal. That is not normal for the East Coast to get earthquakes. It's um, it's pretty scary. I have the rest of my family lives on the East Coast, and so that can be very concerning. And then we all, well, most of us witnessed the eclipse, whether you saw it partial or whether you saw a total eclipse. We had that happen. And then I recently heard of this insane baptismal that happened in Florida, where over 200 people got baptized, which is amazing. It's a beautiful thing. So I want you to understand that it's not all doom and gloom, although what I'm about to say, what I'm about to talk about, can be considered doom and gloom. But I wanted to start on a lighter note with those baptisms so that we know that God is still moving. Even in the midst of tragedy, God is still moving. And so the other two, well, there's three things that I wanted to talk about besides the eclipse, the earthquakes, and the baptismals. Recently, a bishop, his name is Bishop Mari, I believe is how you pronounce his name. He's an Orthodox bishop, and he was viciously attacked the during a service, during a reading of the word. He is, I don't follow him, but from what I have seen and heard, he is a very humble man. He is a man of God. He is a man of the word. I've seen some of his off and on videos, but they were saying that he was stabbed violently on screen. It's on video. But what I found very interesting from what I've been reading is the attacker, when he went to stab the bishop, the knife wouldn't open. So, in essence, he was pretty much just, jabbing the nub of the knife to the bishop. And so he sustained some injuries, obviously, because it was a vicious attack nonetheless. But thank God that he was not actually stabbed. That to me was protection from the Lord, that the knife would not open. It was jammed, something happened, but the knife wouldn't open. And so he was still attacked. He's in the hospital, but he's stable, and I believe he's doing well now. Another thing that I want to address is this whole, and I mean, my feed was flooded with this, where a pastor, Mark Driscoll, was speaking at a men's conference at a church, and it wasn't the same day from what I gather. It was the day after this disgusting thing happened. So apparently, at this men's conference, the pastor somehow thought it was okay to hire, because this person was paid, hire a male stripper to perform at this men's conference, which to me, that in and of itself is very questionable. But he was not there to strip per se, but he is a career, like that is his career. He was there to quote unquote be a performer to, he's a sword swallower is what I'm hearing. So what happened was, he was there to perform this sword swallowing as some kind of entertainment. Yet before he started, he took off his shirt. So he now is bare chested on stage. There is a stripper pole in the middle of the stage where he then begins to ascend and descend from as if he's stripping. And apparently the pastor, and from what I'm gathering, the rest of the participants, the people at this conference, had no issue with it. I don't know for a fact if anyone left. But I think that even if you hire someone to perform at your church, it is common sense to do your due diligence and check out who this person is before they step foot on your platform. Now, it's different if you say, all are welcome here, and we bring all people to repentance, but this person was not there to receive Christ. This person was there to perform. And so he took off his shirt and he started to perform. And apparently Pastor Mark Driscoll the next day was scheduled to speak. And so right before he was going to open up with his teaching, he felt very strongly to speak out against this at the event that he is speaking. He is the special guest there. And so he very humbly, now I want to say this for just so everybody knows, I don't agree with everything that Mark Driscoll has ever said and done, because there are things that I heard him say in the past that are questionable, that I don't agree with. However, in this particular instance, he was 110% correct. He went on his knees and took his hat off as a symbol of humbling himself and not pointing fingers to condemn and to judge. But he was clearly heartbroken at what he saw. And so he called out the spirit. He didn't call out the pastor. He didn't call out any church leaders. He called out the spirit that was behind what took place there the night before. And instead of receiving this correction, which to me, it's a correction because it was done publicly. And so he had every right to publicly correct this pastor and what took place because it was done publicly. The pastor then tells Mark Driscoll that he is out of line and that he needs to leave. Brothers and sisters, I want you to see, if you didn't already see it, the state of the church, where our pastors are now hiring and inviting male strippers into your conferences as some form of entertainment. So Mark was absolutely correct. I commend him. He did everything as he should have. And I can only hope and pray that every leader in the faith is as bold as he is. Because again, he was the guest speaker at this conference. And yet he still had the boldness to speak out. So instead of this pastor, as soon as, now let's say the pastor had no idea that he was going to go up a pole and all this stuff, right? Let's just try to give him the benefit of the doubt. As soon as that gentleman took his shirt off and was bare chested on what should be a holy place, holy ground, that right there, the pastor should have stood up and said, no, you're not doing this here. You can perform whatever you were going to perform with the swords, but I'm going to need you to put your shirt back on. That is what that pastor should have done. From what I heard from someone that was there, they said, oh, there was a bunch of entertainers and there was a lot of things happening. Why do you need entertainers is another question. Why do you feel the need to entertain the church? Why not open your conference in deep intercession and worship? Why not do that? Why do you need some kind of secular entertainment? If this is the direction that you're trying to lead your men, it's no wonder most men want really nothing to do with church. Because the church doesn't even know how to teach these men how to be godly men without bringing in secular things. So everything about that was wrong. That pastor should have stood up right in that second that that man took his shirt off. Or I would have even questioned, why is there a pole at the altar? Why is there a pole there? Kind of sounds like an astropole, which is what Mark described it as, and he's 100% correct. Anyway, I'm not going to continue to go down that rabbit hole, but just so you know, that's another thing that has happened in the recent days. Now, the last thing that I want to talk about before we get into our teaching today is the state of Arizona. Now, this is where I'm going to make some people upset. And again, I don't care. I love you all dearly, and I would never do anything on purpose to hurt anyone's feelings or whatever, make you feel some type of way. However, if you've known me for any amount of time, you know that I will not compromise the truth. And if it makes you uncomfortable, good. You can take it up with the Lord. The state of Arizona is looking to pass a law. It's a bill that's going to be passed into law that will ban all abortions, no exceptions. And I will tell you right now, I am 110% in support of that bill being turned into law. No exceptions. Now, do you want to know why I say no exceptions? Because if you look at an ultrasound, two different ultrasounds, two different babies, which one can you tell me was conceived in rape? Neither one. You can't tell me. Why? Because every human being deserves life, deserves a chance at life. Every human being is made in the image of God. It doesn't matter how they were conceived. They still have human rights. And I'm not even going to go down that rabbit trail, but if you want to know more information on this whole big excuse of what if a woman is raped and what if it's an incest, that is the two questions that have been exhausted for the past, several decades. And that has been answered over and over and over again. I'm not going to get into it here because you can easily Google it, YouTube it, whatever it is, you will find the answer because that has been answered so many different times. Irregardless, every human being deserves the right to live. I personally know several people, grown adults, that were conceived in rape. And they are some of the most beautiful people I have ever met. And their parents chose not only life, but some kept their child, and others put their child up for adoption and were adopted into the most beautiful families and have flourished in society. And they are very, very thankful for their lives. So you can agree to disagree, or you can agree to agree. But every human being deserves life. And I will tell you that I hope and pray that Arizona passes that, so that we can finally have some kind of respect for human life, for all human life. Now, think about everything I just said. I'm just going to sum it up real quick. We have so many things going on, from earthquakes to now the most obvious is the war in Israel, once again, with Iran. So think about it. What are the signs of the end times? And what are the signs we are seeing from what I just described that happened within what, 2 weeks? Within a 2-week span, we have literally seen almost every single end times sign in the last 2 weeks. Earthquakes, compromise in the church. We've seen signs and wonders with the sun and the moon. We've seen revivals breaking out. We've seen Christians being attacked. This is literally the end times playing right in front of you just in the past 2 weeks. So I pray that if you have not gotten right with God, now is the time, because your time is running out. And Jesus is clearly the only way to heaven. Everything in the Bible is coming to pass. He is the only way. Get right with him. If you've become lukewarm, get on fire for the Lord again. Get on your knees, repent, and say, God, I only want you. Help me to only want you, to cast down all idols. Help me, and he will help you. Now, one of the things the teaching we're going to talk about today is one of the attacks that we can experience, and that is in betrayal. I know pretty much all of us have experienced some sort of betrayal, but I'm not talking about some random betrayal, maybe from some person that you just met or something. I'm talking about a deep betrayal that could be a close family member, or even your spouse, or a sibling, someone that you absolutely love, and you would never think that they would betray you, and they did. That kind of betrayal can be like a stab in your back or a stab in your heart. So we're going to read Psalm 55, where it talks about enemies coming against you and also betrayal. Psalm 55 was written by David. Now, from what I have read up on this psalm, it could have been written in a time where Absalom was out to get David. And I can't remember his name. I can't remember his name. It's like a Pishatheth or something like that. I can't remember his name. But he was the gentleman that was in charge of Saul's army. And he ended up betraying David. And again, that's someone that he trusted, that he held close to him, and he was betrayed. But there's something, when I'm going to read this psalm, there's something in here that I want you to see, that maybe you've never seen before. Let's go to verse 1. Listen to my prayer, O God, and do not ignore my cry for help. Please listen and answer me, for I am overwhelmed by my troubles. My enemies shout at me, making loud and wicked threats. They bring trouble on me and angrily hunt me down. My heart pounds in my chest. The terror of death assaults me. Fear and trembling overwhelm me, and I can't stop shaking. Oh, that I had wings like a dove, that I would fly away and rest. I would fly far away to the quiet of the wilderness. Then it would say here, Selah. So how many have felt exactly what David is feeling here? Maybe you haven't felt it to this extreme, but some people have. Some of you may have felt like you've been put in a corner and the world is completely against you, and everything in your life that could go wrong is going wrong. So this psalm is for you. How quickly I would escape far from this wild storm of hatred. Confuse them, Lord, and frustrate their plans, for I see violence and conflict in the city. Its walls are patrolled day and night against invaders, but the real danger is wickedness within the city. Everything is falling apart. Threats and cheating are rampant in the streets. Now, what I immediately thought of when I read this, now this could be relevant, it could not be relevant, but to me, when I read verses 9 through 11, I thought about our nation, where our biggest threat to our nation is not other nations. Our biggest threat to our nation is us. It's who we as a nation have become. And it says it here. It says that the real danger is wickedness within the city. How true is that? We are supposed to be a God-fearing country, a God-fearing nation, founded on God's principles. And yet we have turned away so far from Him, so far from righteousness, that we are our own worst enemy. We are being destroyed from within. And it says, verse 11, everything is falling apart. Threats and cheating are rampant in the streets. We just talked about some of the things that are happening here. It goes on to say, verse 12, it is not an enemy who taunts me. I could bear that. It is not my foes who so arrogantly insult me. I could have hidden from them. Instead, it is you, my equal, my companion and close friend. What good fellowship we once enjoyed as we walked together to the house of God. That's the part I want to highlight to you. Does that sound familiar to any one of you listening? Does that sound familiar to you? I'm going to read it again. It is not an enemy who taunts me. I could bear that. It is not my foes who so arrogantly insult me. I could have hidden from them. Instead, it is you, my equal, my companion and close friend. What good fellowship we once enjoyed as we walked together to the house of God. What I think of and what I read about is Judas and Jesus. It's almost as if this is a prophetic psalm. They call it like a messianic prophetic psalm. This is Judas and Jesus. This is Jesus talking to Judas. Instead, it is you, my equal, my companion and close friend. What good fellowship we once enjoyed as we walked together to the house of God. That sounds like Judas. Let death stalk my enemies. Let the grave swallow them alive, for evil makes its home within them. But I will call on God, and the Lord will rescue me. Morning, noon, and night I cry out in my distress, and the Lord hears my voice. He ransoms me and keeps me safe from the battle waged against me. Though many still oppose me, God, who has ruled forever, will hear me and humble them. So that is something I want you to remember, is that when you are being attacked or when you have been betrayed, look to God, call to the Lord, and know that he will rescue you. You have to know this. You can't just say, okay, Lord, I'm going through this and I hope you rescue me. No, he didn't say that. David didn't say, I hope the Lord will rescue me. He said, and the Lord will rescue me. He was praying in confidence. He was praying in faith. And then he brought his supplication. Morning, noon, and night, I cry out in distress. But then what does he say? The Lord hears my voice. He didn't say, I hope the Lord hears me. No, he said, the Lord hears my voice. He will rescue me. He ransoms me and keeps me safe. These are declarations. He knows this to be true. This is how we need to be. We need to know that this is true. God, who has ruled forever, will hear me and humble them. So he's saying God is going to do the justice. He is judge. We talked about this before. He will do the judging. He will do the revenge. He will have his way with them. For my enemies refuse to change their ways. They do not fear God. How many people do we know that attack us, that betray us, and they have no fear of the Lord, and there is no change in sight for them? That is, to them, that is who they are, and they are very bitter, angry people. And so they want everyone else to be bitter and angry just as they are. Verse 20, as for my companion, he betrayed his friends. He broke his promises. His words are as smooth as butter, but in his heart is war. His words are as soothing as lotion, but underneath are daggers. Here it is. Here is the highlight. And I have this highlighted in my Bible. If you don't have it highlighted in yours, I encourage you to do so. Verse 22, highlight, underline it. Give your burdens to the Lord, and he will take care of you. He will not permit the godly to slip and fall. So you see how now David kind of reversed this. Before, he was talking in the first person saying, the Lord will do this for me. He will do this for me. I know he will. Now he redirects it, and now he's talking to you. He's speaking to you. Give your burdens to the Lord. But once again, he's not telling you, he's not giving you a maybe. He's saying, and he, God, will take care of you. So it's interesting that David not only has faith for himself, he has faith for you. He's encouraging you to pray in faith. And he is praying in faith for you. He will take care of you. Then he goes on to say, but you, O God, will send the wicked down to the pit of destruction. Once again, that's God's judgment. Murderers and liars will die young, but I am trusting you to save me. I am trusting you to save me. Do you trust the Lord today? Are you trusting him to have judgment, to fulfill judgment on your behalf? Are you leaving whoever it is that betrayed you, whoever it is that is attacking you, are you leaving them to him? Let him deal with it. As David said, he will save you. He does hear you. He is listening. Sometimes we may not think that he's listening, but he is. And we also have to remember it is on his timing. All we do is give our burdens to the Lord. I cannot emphasize that enough. That no matter who comes against you, no matter who says what to you, even the most closest person to you can betray you. And that doesn't mean that you hold everyone at arm's length. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is you have to give people the opportunity to love you. You can't just close off because you're afraid of getting hurt. You can't do that. You are going to get hurt. You just need to expect that. It's not easy. No, of course not. Of course, it's not easy to be betrayed. It's not easy to be attacked. Of course not. But we were also warned in the Bible. Jesus himself said, you will be hated. He didn't say you might be, or you could be, or make sure you don't make anyone feel uncomfortable and then they won't attack you. No, he said you will be not only attacked, he said you will be hated. Hate is a very strong word. You will be hated. So you need to expect it. Now, of course, we don't expect it from our friends and loved ones. However, it can happen. And I want you to know, I know it's easier said than done, but I want you to know that if and when that happens, you have to give your burden to the Lord. Leave them to God and let him deal with them. You don't seek revenge because it's only going to hurt you. You may think it's going to make you feel better if you have the opportunity for revenge and you want to take it. You may think that you will feel better. I will tell you right now, you will not feel better. That's not how it works because it'll never be enough. If you do it that one time, then you're going to say, oh, you know what? That wasn't strong enough. I need to do something worse. I need to do something that'll really, really get them mad. And you're sitting there working yourself up, coming up with this evil plan. Are you not supposed to be a Christian? Are you not supposed to be love? Aren't you supposed to be a Christ follower? He brought correction, yes. But he didn't go plotting on people, plotting revenge on people, especially being crucified, being beaten. If anyone in this whole world, in this whole universe, on this side of heaven, had the right, how should I say this? Yeah, if anyone had the right to seek revenge on anyone, it would be Jesus. Because he did nothing, absolutely nothing wrong, but get some people upset. And yet they crucified him. They brutally beat him. So if anyone should be seeking revenge, who has the right to, it would be him. And yet he didn't. What did he do? Did he say, I'm going to rain fire from heaven and burn everybody up? No. When he was on the cross, what did he say? He said, forgive them, for they know not what they do. He was asking God to forgive them, asking his Father to forgive them. How much more should we be doing the same? How much more should we be saying, God, forgive them for what they are doing to me, for what they did to me, for what they said to me. Forgive them, Lord, for they know not what they do. Let that be your answer to betrayal, to attacks, to forgive them. As much as it hurts, to forgive. Believe me, when you forgive, you will have a burden lifted off of your shoulders that you didn't even realize was there. That is true freedom. When you forgive someone who has done you wrong, that is true freedom in Christ. I hope and pray that this stream has encouraged you. If it has been a blessing to you, please consider subscribing if you haven't already. I ask you to also hit the notification bell so that you get all notifications when I go live, which is now on Mondays at 7 p.m. Central Standard Time. And if you would like to become a monthly partner with the ministry, you can do so at joshuascry.com/donate. And I will truly appreciate all channel members. You can also become a channel member. You can see some now in the chat. If you see their name in green with a little icon next to them, those are our beloved channel members. You can also purchase from the Selah collection on faithfulstyles.com. I have a Selah collection there that you can order t-shirts that are beautifully made. They're very simple. They don't have any advertisement on it. They are just very well designed, very simple, very clean. But I thank you all for all of your support. I truly cannot sow into other ministries without your help. And if you are a channel partner or if you become a monthly partner, you will know the ministries that I sow into with those funds. And it literally spreads the gospel across the world, not just the nation, across the world. So may the Lord bless you and protect you. May the Lord smile on you and be gracious to you. May the Lord show you his favor and give you his peace. I will see you all again next Monday. God bless.